Hello, my name is Betsy Burkeen with the United Way of Paducah, McCracken County, and I am so excited to be here with you guys today. It is an honor to come here and to be able to present to the company that was the #1 largest financial supporter to the United Way of Paducah, McCracken County after 81 years of us being in this community, #1 supporter. Many of you guys are very aware of what we do at the United Way, and we are so appreciative of your support. But many in our community are not. So it's so important that I have this opportunity to come here today and to speak to you and educate you about the United Way, so then you can in turn go to others and educate those people as well. In fact, the awareness about the United Way is sometimes so insignificant in our community, and we'd prefer for it to be much greater, that I have a little example for you today. We have a What's Your Story campaign theme, so I'm going to skip straight to the favorite portion of the newspaper, the comics section, and talk to you just a little bit about a real-life example that happened a couple years ago between a former executive director to the United Way and an elderly gentleman when she walked in for her dentist office appointment. She's sitting down next to the man and she said, "Hi, how are you doing today?" And he said, "I'm doing well. How about yourself? It looks like you've come from a busy day at the office." She said, "You know, I have. I work at the United Way and we're planning a huge event. It's been kind of crazy." And he said, "Oh, I just love the United Way." And she said, "You do? You have no idea how encouraging it is for me to hear that. Most people just don't know what we do at the United Way." And he looked at her kind of shocked and he said, "Really?" "Because I just love to fly United. I seem to always have problems when I fly with Southwest," he said. So no, we don't fly planes at the United Way, and if you know me, then you're thankful for that. But we do a lot of good work. So let's start off by hearing about that message through our campaign video.
A lot of the challenges that people face in Paducah and McCracken County, they are simply symptoms of a deeper problem. And we want to support programs that are looking at the root causes of why people are not succeeding. We do what we do at the United Way because this is our community. And it's not just putting that temporary assistance for somebody. It's walking through life with people. And outside of that, there's not a long-term fix. The fact of the matter is we have to walk beside each other in this life. If we don't look at the long term, then we can't fix anything.
Kendall is 10 years old. She likes to dance. She dances all the time. She sings all the time. Very animated. She's very much a drama queen. She doesn't get any behavior incidents, no behavior reports. She's the model student. We don't get in trouble. You know, we tend to struggle a little bit sometimes with academics. She has to work harder than some of the other kids, but this is her 3rd year with Reading Pals. Someone comes in once a week, they have lunch with her, and then they read a book. But it's also been more than that. The Reading Pal became very involved with Kendall and, you know, just really got to know her. So it's more than just coming in and reading a book. Kendall started going to Oscar Cross when she was 6, and it really helped me as a parent. She has a safe environment after school. Transportation is provided, so I don't have to worry about where she is while I'm working. And it also has helped with some of the expenses of having to pay for daycare after school.
Well, I've been in addiction most of my life. I started getting high when I was 13 years old. I was in addiction for about 38 years, a long, long time, in and out of rehabs, watching my life just fall apart around me. In 2012, I cried out to the Lord to please show me a different way to live. Show me how to live a sober life, because I didn't know how. You know, I never knew how to do that. And the Lord led me here to Ladies Living Free, and these women saved my life. All our volunteers and facilitators, you know, they volunteer their time to help women like me. You know, and now I'm blessed that I get to work here. And the greatest thing is watching the women come in broken like I was. You can see the transformation that takes place, you know, when they let the Lord take over their lives.
We sang a song called Excellent last Sunday at church, and it touched me because I remember that was one of the first songs I learned to sing in a choir in the 7th grade. And to sing it now, working on a master's degree, it's fantastic because it all goes back to that little seed that was planted way back when. When you're low income, there are a lot of programs available to help you meet your daily needs. You've got programs at the Salvation Army that will help you if you're having financial difficulties with bills. And the good thing, what I appreciated from that particular program was once you received assistance, they wanted you to come to a budgeting program. And United Way happened to come, and they had a great program called Getting Ahead. And it just talked about basic things about budgeting and managing expectations, living within your means, and pretty much everybody who participated in the program had a great aha moment. So I was able to graduate from that program and eventually able to move out of low-income housing into the house that I'm in now, and I don't get any assistance at all. It's based off of the money that I earn when I go to work every day. So I just try to bring those smart choices into my daily life. So it's totally impacted me and my family in a good way, because I think that's gonna move down for generation to generation, and maybe my kids won't have to start as low as I did or on the level that I did. They'll already start on track and then just move forward to more greatness.
When you think about it, who hasn't had a family member or someone in their life who hasn't come upon hard times financially, or who doesn't care about the children in our community, or who hasn't had a family member or themselves personally had a health crisis that was completely out of their control and they needed assistance? And that's why we do what we do at the United Way, because we want to walk beside people and we want to help them through improving education, income, and health.
Okay, so now she just said it in the video, and if you've been provided with a United Way RIGHT card from this year, which we hope you have, you can find this information there as well. But real quickly, take just a second and see if you can identify what the 3 focus areas are of the United Way. Do you have them? They're education, income, and health. So then the question becomes, how do we impact these 3 areas in our local community? Well, 2 ways. 1, through our community impact work, which we'll talk about in just a minute, and then 2, by allocating funds to our 17 local partner agencies listed here. But there's so much that you need to know about this process. You see, we don't just write these guys a big check and hope for the best, but rather we do a lot of research. We first identify what are the barriers in Paducah, McCracken County, and then what are our goals to break those barriers down. We then invite nonprofits in the community that have programs that are achieving those goals to apply for funding. But a couple things to be a nonprofit partner agency of the United Way. 1, they have to be a 501c3 nonprofit. 2, they have to be allocating funds in Paducah, McCracken County. Don't live in Paducah, McCracken County? That's okay. You can choose to allocate to a few surrounding areas that you'll notice when you choose to donate. If you live in those communities and drive into Paducah, but if you choose to donate to our United Way, your dollars will stay in this local community. 3, they have to be board controlled. And 4, they have to have a yearly audit. We require the same minimum criteria of our own organization as well. And then at the end of the day, after all of those checks and balances, my favorite thing about the United Way is that you decide. At the United Way, our donors allocate our dollars. It's a 2-day process in February, one panel made up of 10 to 15 volunteers for each focus area. You could choose which one you're the most passionate about and serve on those panels if you're a donor to United Way. There's one for education, income, and health. The first day, those panels, or our donors and volunteers, would tour these local nonprofits that have applied for funding, and then the second day, they would review their budgets, listen to the reasons why they need the funding for those programs, and then take the money and decide how to best impact our community with their local dollars. How many dollars was it last year? $871,241.27 collected by the United Way. How many dollars came just from CSI and employees? $149,698, or 17% of everything that we brought in. Please take a moment to give that number the recognition that it deserves. I want to talk to you just a little bit about that. 2 years ago, CSI and employees gave $114,750. This year, $149,000. That was a 30.46% increase in donations. I have no idea how we accomplished that goal, but I am so thankful to all of you that said, hey, I know we're giving more than anyone else in our community, but we can do more, and that is exactly what you did, and I am so appreciative of that. Thank you for the impact that you're making in this community. You are literally helping our organization to survive, along with the 17 partners that we have. Change starts here. And we're challenging you to share your United Way story this year. You have one just by being an employee of CSI, by watching this video today, or maybe at one time you were a volunteer, a donor, or a recipient of services either. We're challenging you to share that story primarily because we want less and less people to think that we fly planes at the United Way. I have a few stories that I have brought with me today of people that I've gotten to meet over the past year that I would like to share with you. First, for the story of Christina. Christina was an employee of USEC until she was involuntarily laid off. She was also an active donor to the United Way of Paducah McCracken County, and Christina told me that she never really understood the importance of the United Way until she herself needed help from Kentucky Legal Aid. Christina's story today. Christina is a domestic violence survivor. She is an active Girl Scout volunteer at Heath Elementary and Middle School, and even at the council level. She's a nursing student at West Kentucky Community and Technical College with a very high GPA, and she is raising those two beautiful girls. Christina says there's no way that she would ever be where she is today without the help that she one time received from Kentucky Legal Aid and the United Way. For Anna's story, I have a direct quote. I was in an abusive relationship where I was beaten, burned, choked, sprayed with lighter fluid, and threatened to be lit on fire if I ever left. The state took custody of my two kids because they were in harm's way, but there were many barriers in being able to leave until last year when I came to the Merriman House, and I received the tools to heal and become self-sufficient. Anna's story today. Anna told me and about 15 other community investment volunteers that she now knows her worth. She is working full-time, she is living independent and raising, and her two kids have been removed from that situation and now are happy and healthy and safe. Anna said, I know that it was donors and supporters of the Merriman House and the United Way that not only saved my life, but the life of my kids. I'm going to give you a lot of numbers in this presentation, but that is something that I could never put a number on. Thank you so much for the impact that you've made for this family. And now, because Juan tells his story so much better than I could, let's meet Juan.
I will share with you is a great limitation, right? Where I live at doesn't have great chance for nobody, so if I wanted to improve, I needed to come over to Paducah. Not having a car makes a big limitation because I'm not able to come over to work, and the only way I could come over to Paducah was having my own car. Tim from Jobs for Life encouraged me to come over here. He even told me, you don't got a car, I'll bring you, my family will bring you to work. You don't have a place to stay, we'll get you a place to stay. And they really have backed me up. We became great friends, and he had a call about saying they needed a person for outside lawn and garden, and he said, I got the correct person for you. Had this chance to buy this car, Hope Unlimited helped me with it, and having a car really changes everything. I've been loved by God, and that makes me easy to love people. And every time I remember about what he does for me, and he's so great for me, so I could be great to others also.
Juan is now an active volunteer and donor to Hope Unlimited. Hope Unlimited is a new partner agency to the United Way this year, and we were able to support their Jobs for Life program underneath our income focus area. Denzel Washington, in addition to being a famous actor, he's also a huge advocate for Boys and Girls Clubs of America. He wrote a book called A Hand to Guide Me. In it, he said, at the end of the day, it's not about what you have or even what you've accomplished. It's about what you've done with those accomplishments. It's about who you've lifted up, who you've made better. It's about what you've given back. I mentioned before how much you guys gave financially to the United Way, but what I wasn't able to tell you yet is how many lives, what we did with those dollars, how many lives you improved. It was 7,589 lives. That's 7,589's, Anna's, Christina's, Juan's, the list goes on, their children. I can't express to you how huge that is, how significant the impact that 198 donors here at CSI are making on our local community. Of course, with your support and the support of many others, the United Way is improving the lives of 27,827 people this year alone in Paducah-McCracken County. Our population here is only a little over 65,000, so if that tells you what a large reach we're able to have through the United Way of Paducah-McCracken County. In the beginning of this presentation, I mentioned that we impact the community in two ways. One being community impact work. You guys are very involved with this work here at CSI as well. Stuff the Bus this year supported 646 local families with school supplies from this Day of Service and workplace campaigns. Project United, you guys sent a team of about 50 people to total 515 volunteers in our community that completed 34 projects at 21 local nonprofit agencies for this annual Day of Service. And then Reading Pals, you guys have 18 Reading Pals from CSI giving an hour a week. They go to the schools and read with their little pal for 30 minutes and have lunch or breakfast with them. We now have 150 pals in 11 local schools. We would love to have some more of you folks participate in this program. I can promise you, you will feel like you get a lot more out of it than you put in. These kids are amazing, and it's just so awesome to be able to watch them grow and read with them and learn about their lives and mentor them in this way. Concerning giving, we always want to remind you that a little can do a lot at the United Way. For the price of a soda, you can help feed a local family for an entire day. A combo meal can send a child to Oscar Cross for an entire year. It still costs $10 to these parents to send their kids to Oscar Cross for an entire year, Monday through Friday until 6 p.m. every day. And then for the price of a tank of gas, you can provide therapy for a child that's been severely abused. We do encourage our Fair Share program at the United Way. That's just a commitment of an hour of pay a month. So if you make $10 an hour, you would say, I'll give you $10 a month. And then we always want to ask for step up, and that just means, hey, I gave $5 a paycheck last year, maybe I could do 6 or 7 this year. Why do we ask that? Well, because everything gets more expensive. It costs more money to provide the same services. And then leadership donors. We have a nice leadership donor base here at CSI. Leadership donors give $1,000 or more a year to the United Way, and they made up of about $120,000 worth of donations to the last year. So they're huge to what we do, and we want them to know how appreciated they are. I'd like to end today with the picture of this family. You see, if you think of anything when you think of the United Way, I want you to think of a family that looks a little bit like this. At the beginning of campaign season, I always complete this presentation over the summer, and then before campaign season begins, I ask Mr. Palace if I can come in here to CSI and perform my presentation for him and get some constructive criticism, and he always helps me out every year in such a huge way. He's a wise man, and I really value his advice. This year, after he heard the presentation, he reminded me of a Bible verse in Matthew 25, and it was concerning the final judgment day. And it goes a little something like, for what you have done for the least of me, my brothers, you have also done for me. And so I took that verse with me throughout the campaign season this year, and I tried to reflect on that. You see, I have never suffered from domestic violence. I have never known what it was like to be hungry. I have never been a single mom. But when I look at this family, I can humble myself for just a few minutes and try to imagine what it must be like. So for today, to close, I'm going to ask you to go on a journey with me. For just a minute, I want you to step back and I want you to think about what it would be like to be beaten and to look up at your children watching you and have nowhere else to go. Just for a minute, I want you to step back and think about what it would be like to have your lights turned off and to look in your family's eyes and know that you have no way to turn them back on. Just for a minute, I want you to think what you would do if your child came to you and said, I have been sexually abused. What mountain you wouldn't want to move to save your child. So when you think of the United Way, I want you to think of an organization that is moving every mountain that we can to help families like this by not just putting a Band-Aid or a temporary fix on one problem, but rather looking at the whole problem, a holistic approach, the larger picture, and saying, how can we help this family by not just maybe removing them from domestic violence or giving them food, but also by pouring into the education of the children and by mentoring them and helping them in such a holistic way that this family can go on to live successful lives and then pour back into our community exactly the way that Miss Christina here has done. Thank you so much for supporting the United Way. I hope you believe in our mission as much as I do. If you do, please like us on Facebook, share us on Twitter, share your United Way story this year, and help others to know the work that we're doing here, and challenge yourself to decide how you want to become a part of it. Thank you so much for your time and for watching today.